All right. This is a small disclaimer. All content that's in here revolving anything that's copyrighted, I just want to say it's copyrighted. It's not my own property. It's from the distributors. All rights goes to them. This is just an educational video. Yes. But yes, all stuff are copyrighted for them and their usage. I'm just here to use it as an educational purpose, and everything's going to be down in the description below of where it comes from. Thank you. All right, so first thing I want to just start off by is talking about something that I really like, and it's video games. I really do enjoy video games a lot. It's something that I believe anyone can do, play, just get in and just do what they want. You can literally get into a game and be Spider-Man, swing through the city of New York and feel like Spider-Man. Or even in God of War, you become Kratos, the god of war, and just like have insane level of energy and be able to just take down people and just uh not really spoiler warning, but just beat the crap out of your enemies. It's just something really amazing that if people enjoy violence or enjoy those type of things, but like, so yeah, if you don't have an idea of what I'm talking about, it's all good. 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 It's all Gucci. Because I'm here to explain. I am talking about these two games specifically because these things are what made me want to buy a PS5. And to get even more closer, I want to talk about more specifically the PS exclusives and how these PS exclusives help the relationship of fan loyalty and just create a fandom exclusive to one certain company. Getting into this, I am a huge Spider-Man fan, and I mean huge. Like, I have comic books, I have gone through many of its animations, seen through them, the 1990s, even the 60s. But yeah, the comics, the MCU version, the Andrew Garfield, don't even want to get into there with those movies, but more specifically, and I think this is my favorite Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire, at least from the films. Like, as a kid, I really enjoyed Spider-Man. Like, my mom would be coming back from work and she'd be like, how the hell are you watching Spider-Man? And my grandma would be like, oh, he just learned by himself to put the disc inside the DVD tray and just start playing it. I would literally have toy figures of from Spider-Man 2 of Doc Ock without his arms. And like, my mom would be telling me this and saying how I would cut up his arms so that way Spider-Man could like defeat him. I am talking about this, how with the PS exclusive of Marvel Spider-Man, it helped bring in an audience who, or a fandom that really loves Spider-Man, and it helped them bring those people in because in the games, obviously you're the character of Spider-Man, but also like there's some suits that you can use in the game. Like, you level up throughout the game and all that. You can get different type of suits doing by different challenges and all that. But also you can buy them and all that other stuff. it's whatever. But yeah, and I think being able to like get these suits and being able to play all these different Spider-Mans that are from like the movies or like the comics, or that like as a Spider-Man fan I really enjoy about it. Another thing that is enjoyable is actually the story. What this story does is kind of similar to what the MCU has done before, and it's by like creating a story where Spider-Man already exists in the universe, but this time he's not a teenager like in the MCU. He's a well-established character that's been here for years and is now in college, or like just an adult, like going through every single day life of like adulthood. And and this really strikes a lot on me because like it established a character that already exists. Spoilers warning, really big spoilers warning if you have never seen anything about Spider-Man. It established a Peter Parker that's already struggling through life, struggling through daily life, of just being Peter Parker and also being Spider-Man, and having to go through all these crime bosses and just everyday hate from J. Jonah Jameson. But yeah, this game really just like does it really well by integrating the Spider-Man into a universe that already exists. It helps us like fully flesh out Spider-Man by just his first introduction. And this part is really touching because like we see how like Peter has these close relationships with Aunt May and with like different people. But I think what this game does really well, that it ties back a little bit towards Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man a little bit, is its relationship with its villains, with more specifically with Doc Ock, Dr. Otto Octavius. It does really flesh out its relationship between them, the dynamics, and showing how much they care about each other. And I think it really shows here more specifically how well it is, because at this point of the story we see Peter's trying to fix his suit and all that, and Dr. Octavius comes in and sees the suit and all that, but he doesn't think that the correlation is the suit, Peter's trying to fix it for himself, and that he is Spider-Man. He makes the assumption that Peter is just a nice person who is willing to like take care of others and put his needs before others, and he's just fixing the suit for Spider-Man as his suit caretaker. I don't remember how he says it in the game, I forgot for a bit. But it really does show a nice relationship there between mentor and student, mentor and mentee, and also like as like a friendship in a way. And it just builds up on this connection, how Doc is willing to like keep the secret for Peter, knowing that like if this secret were to come out, it would devastate his family and his friends and all that, with the villains knowing and all that. With God of War, something that made me attracted to it was definitely the fact that before, as a kid, like around time of grade 4, I was given God of War by one of my mom's co-workers as a gift, and I got to play, I believe it was God of War 2 at the time. I'm not 100% sure, but it was for the PS2. And during that time, I played it, and it was alright. Graphics not as good now, obviously, but it was still a good game, decent. I didn't understand it that much then. Now it's a little bit more. But yeah, with the new God of War, I believe something that's really well here is the fact that we follow a relationship between father and son. I myself do not have a father, so I would not know. I would not know How it's hard to have a dad. But yeah. But yeah, no. I really enjoyed the dynamic between the father and son in the game, and it's just something beautiful that blossoms in this game. Another thing that follows is the fact that God of War is not following the past games where like it's Greek mythology or Roman mythology of gods, but it's following the what are they called? The Norse? The Norse mythology? Yeah, Norse mythology. It follows the Norse mythology of Thor, Odin, and all those Loki, all the other Norse gods or Icelandic gods, rather. And it follows through that, where God of War, where Kratos is slid from one reality or one realm to the other, and right now has a son who doesn't know that his father is a god, but more specifically, not a god from that realm. And we followed this relationship of Kratos trying to bond with his son through mentoring him and killing, or not killing, rather hunting animals. And there's one scene from the beginning of the game where they go hunting for this deer. Really shows the relationship of how like Kratos is really not in touch with his son, and it's just really, boy, come here, boy, do this, boy, do not do that. But in a scene where like he's teaching his son how to directly aim into the deer, trying to shoot the deer, and we see Kratos really just explaining really well how it should be done. He shows how it should be. He doesn't show, but he tells him how to do it, how to breathe really calmly, and he shows really, you can say like he shows a bit of the emotion that towards his son. But yeah, this part is just like really beautiful, and it shows the relationship really well at this part. But yeah, now looking throughout overall game, I think the boss fights are really well done. The different gods look amazing. I think they're really well done. It really follows the Norse mythology gods. And something else, the creatures or the monsters, they really look amazing. They sound amazing. I really had fun playing this game and being able to just axe these creatures, specifically more with the axe. What I really loved about it was the fact that it felt like Stormbreaker, Thor's axe from the MCU, where like he would just throw it and then he can just summon it back and it will just come back. It felt really a lot like that. It was just really amazing to be doing it and just being able to go, yeah, come back, hoo-ah. And it just did really good amount of like damage on the monsters. I really loved it. I am talking about this because of the main reason of fan loyalty or fan base. We have this assumption of one is better than the other always, and more specifically, this is with consoles. Like there's a console war right now between the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, I believe it is. Yeah, there's this war between these two different companies and consoles, which are owned by two different companies. One, which is the PS5, owned by Sony, and then the other is the Xbox Series X, owned by Microsoft. We have these two different companies that are associating a war between profit and just popularism. And what Sony does really well, especially with its PlayStations, and more specifically, is the PS exclusive. The PS exclusive is a game that is solely meant to be played on PlayStation consoles. And this is a great marketing scheme because, as we saw, Spider-Man, huge fan base, huge nerd over here, willing to buy a PS5 to play the Spider-Man game, should say something about how that fan base has loyalty to that particular game and how they're willing to want to pay to get a console to play the game. So in this, Sony is not just marketing for the game, but it's also marketing for like its consoles and how like how that profits into willing to gain profit in like just newcomer audience into its company. But yeah, so Sony really does well with the PS exclusive that differs from like others. And you can really see this now with Xbox. Xbox is really trying to go for Xbox Game Pass. The Game Pass is it's something that PC players can do to access Xbox games and all that on their PC, in which you can get Halo, and some Forza Horizon, and some other games also through it. But like Xbox is really trying to follow its path with the PlayStation, with the PS exclusives, but the PS exclusives are not meant to be played on PC, but like it's just a console thing. So that varies a lot because the Xbox can either be the Xbox Game Pass can either be done through the Xbox consoles or on PC. But yeah, tying this back to like exclusives to a console, I really found this nice book that helps not really explain, but it helps like helps broaden out what I'm trying to say. I am just gonna quote it right here. This one part. Sega employees silently watched as Nelson played through the first level. The first thing that struck everyone was that while Sonic was brilliantly fast, Mario was obviously slow. Sonic was chaotically determined. Mario was peacefully subdued. But most important, Sonic was something new, and Mario was strangely and amazingly just more of the same. Back to this quote. The quote comes from Blake J. Harris' book, Console Wars, Sega, Nintendo, and the Battle That Defined a Generation. So, in the quote, we have two different games from two different developers and console makers and companies, or console companies. One owned by Sega, which is Sonic, and one owned by Nintendo, which is Mario. These two games are dramatically different, are meant to be played on their different consoles, and are meant to be like that. Obviously, from the quote, we see that Sonic is being much more emphasized as the greater game here because Sega employees are talking about it, and they're seeing how Nielsen is playing through this game compared to like where Mario is being dumbed down, or like being lessened, because Sega employees are going to talk more to hype up Sonic and also get released more. But yeah, if you take a look, we can see that the PS exclusive wasn't like the first thing that has happened before. Like it wasn't major major new territory that has been done for video games to be exclusive to one console. We see this through Nintendo with its Mario games, and it's still being done through right now, where Mario, Super Smash Bros. Are all just part of the Nintendo brand, and Nintendo's still a huge company. But we see this more exclusively right now. This connection between how like these companies are rivaling each other through their independent games, where Nintendo has like something that's old, not necessarily old, but like something that's already been done, and that they're marketing for something better and like more to be added on for the audience, while Sega is releasing Sonic, something new, something that doesn't compare as much to Mario, something that is trying to outstand from it and be different. And I think if we take a look at that, and we take a look at the PS exclusive, we try to see how that differs, not different, but how that is similar to both. With the PS exclusive, we see that the games that are being made and developed are obviously made by different producers and all that, but producers or game developers or game developing companies, we see different games, but like they're still really, really well done and enjoyable, and there's something new and something that is not really repetitive compared to like other games where it is broadened out to multiple different companies and multiple different consoles, where you can be played on PC, the Nintendo, Xbox, the PS, or like anything game related that you can play on. And the exclusivity makes it more the PS exclusivity is just something that like shows how like the company is willing to do and willing to put money into it, because like if you take a look at his profits, the Spider-Man and God of War are one of his top two most selling games. And if we were to like go even deeper, you can probably mention how like these two are really good sales, not just for the games but also for like selling the console. And it's just really well done. So yeah, another thing that I want to talk about and forgot talking about was from the article Studying Platforms in Cultural Production, Methods, Institutions, and Practice by David B. Nieborg, Brooke Aaron Duffy, and Thomas Powell. Alright, so more specifically, I want to focus on platform economics in this article. Right here in the first sentence, contemporary research in the fields of mainstream economics and management highlights the role of platform companies in governing complex, fast-evolving, multi-sided markets, with each side constituting a variety of users ranging from end users to companies and governments. Compared with legacy media conglomerates, platforms are guided by business models that foreground connectivity between users, producers, over creating, commissioning, and licensing intellectual property. So, more specifically, platform economics. When we think about that, we think about how, specifically with the second sentence, we think about licensing and what it owns. Spider-Man. It's a Marvel-based company that is licensed to Sony for its game developing, and Sony, well, it's licensed to Sony to be issued out, but the one company that developed it, that has the licensing for it, is Insomniac, that helps develop the game, but it's then issued and spread by Sony onto its PS market. And with God of War, it's created exclusively by itself from Sony, and then distributed through them. And something here that is really important is the fact that we see these games are specifically licensed to these users, that is then put out for sale in the PS exclusive. So like, it has no rights to be used somewhere else and put out by other companies on other platforms, compared to like Call of Duty, which can be played on the PS, the Xbox, PC, or even the Nintendo. Which is funny, because I played Call of Duty Ghosts on the Nintendo Wii U, and it was really, really not good on the Wii U. But yeah, we see this difference, how like license it to produce and distribute these things have different variety from game to game, or company to company, or even from game developers giving the rights to distribute their game for profit through different companies. We see this difference, and this difference really highlights how they want to market and how they want to gain profit. Call of Duty gains millions of profit, but yet it doesn't compare to God of War or Spider-Man, because yes, there's a franchise, there is a fan base in all of them, but what differs is the fact that Call of Duty, although is distributed to every single company to be distributed by them and gain profit, it is developed every single year with like a new map, new story. But yet, if you take a look at the multiplayer, it's the same thing over and over and over again. Although yes, I do enjoy it, I do find it repetitive of a game that is done over and over. And compared to Spider-Man or God of War, it is different. Like, there is a plot for both of them. It doesn't necessarily have a multiplayer, but like he can still go back to the plot, change how hard it is, change how you do things, how you attack. It will differ, but also it is its own thing. It is not the same repetitive thing that can be repeated over and over and over again. And that's what is that, and that is why I think the PS exclusive for those games really helps push an agenda for marketing, but also helps push a fan base into growing and just becoming stronger to that game, but also to a specific console and company. Alright, looking at the next article from Sheila C. Murphy, Live in Your World, Play in Ours, the Space of Video Game Identity. I want to look at this quote specifically. What then of this new virtual identity? How can I reconcile it with discourses of digital media identity and media identification. The topic of identity has been much explored within digital media studies. Thought the result has been a series of prognosticating, and often celebratory essays around identity influx or free play. In his introduction to anthology web studies, rewriting media studies for digital age, 2000, British media theorist David Gauntlet bemoans the tedious and repetitive academic attention paid to the concept of online identity play that has manifested itself in numerous scholarly articles on cyberculture, which according to Gauntlet basically all says cyberspace, you can play with identity, nobody knows who you really are, gosh, but fails to develop any theoretical insights beyond once engaging thought. Much of the early critical writing on identity in digital media studies foreground questions of gender and performance in the prolific of virtual identities in cyberspace. So, one thing we can talk about here is within the last part. Much of early in digital media studies foreground questions of gender and performance in the prolific of virtual identities in cyberspace. Although God of War and Spider-Man are not a multiplayer game like Call of Duty or Halo or anything that involves multiplayer and involves with other people interacting with other people, we still have this identity of player and character, where for me, I wanted to play Spider-Man because I wanted to feel like Spider-Man. I wanted to web swing through the cities of New York, fight bosses, fight Kingpin, fight the Sinister Six. Spoilers, I'm sorry if you have not played it, but yes, fight the Sinister Six, and just enjoy the life of Peter Parker. And in God of War, it is much more violent of a game, and you can say I wanted to be Kratos and just beat the living F of all the monsters and the villains in the game, or gods, and just really just enjoy just seeing all the red just splatting everywhere. All the red. If you don't know what the red is, just know it's red. It's just red. But yeah, we identify ourselves with the characters. We find ourselves being them. We find ourselves wanting to be them. So that really helps us understand the dynamic between being Spider-Man, being Kratos. And yes. But yeah, I think now that I've talked about both different games and talked about the PS exclusive a little bit more in depth, what I really think about the PS exclusive is the fact that, specifically with these two games, it has a lot of I wouldn't say baggage, but it has like history with it. God of War with its multiple with its franchise from before, it focuses on something new, but like also this new has plot that already explains who he is, and it's just developing even more further. Also, mechanics feel a lot good. They feel nice playing it. But also, because these games have history before, I think the PS exclusive really does well in making sure that these games acknowledge the fact that it has history, but also tries to revamp it into making something else new while trying to create a profit for the company that in which the average player wouldn't think about. It really is a smart marketing scheme that it does really well into gaining profit, while also allowing for an audience to really enjoy the game. So yeah, this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you hated me, you can leave a dislike. If you like me, you can still leave a dislike. It doesn't matter. But yeah, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed. Hasta la vista.